My wife looked at me across the candlelit table on our anniversary trip and said, "Andrew, I'm leaving you for someone better. I've already taken care of everything." After 16 years of marriage, that was how she broke the news. My name's Andrew Blake, 45 years old, a CPA based in Miami. I'd spent over a decade building a life with my wife Sarah, supporting her dreams and saving for our future together. But that Friday night at a beachfront restaurant in Key West, she drained my inheritance of $200,000 and left me for another man. I stayed calm, looked her in the eye, and said, "Good luck with that." She smirked, thinking she'd won. She didn't know I'd been preparing for her betrayal for months. Sarah and I met in 2008 at a tax seminar in Orlando. I was 28, focused on my career, and she was 26, a paralegal with a sharp wit and a love for photography. We bonded over our shared dream of opening a small studio one day, a place where she could pursue her passion. We married a year later, settled in Miami, and built a comfortable life. I handled the finances, she handled the home, and we saved diligently. When my father passed 2 years ago, he left me $200,000, a legacy from his decades as a fisherman. I put it into a joint account, dreaming of the studio we'd always talked about. I thought we were a team. Things changed about a year ago. Sarah started pulling away. She'd spend hours on her phone, texting someone she wouldn't. Neighbor and her photography trips turned into overnight stays. She'd come back with new clothes, new jewelry, always with excuses. "I'm networking with other artists," she'd say. Or, "A client paid me extra for a shoot." I noticed the late-night calls, the way she'd leave the room when I walked in, the passwords on her devices. I'm a CPA. I spot discrepancies for a living, and I knew something was off. I didn't confront her. I watched and I waited. 6 months ago, I took precautions. I hired a private investigator, Mark Evans, a former client who owed me a favor. After I saved his business from an audit, "I need you to follow Sarah," I told him. "I think she's planning something." Mark started tailing her, sending me reports of her meetings with a man named Ethan Cole, a local gallery owner with a reputation for charm. I also moved half my inheritance into a separate trust account she couldn't access, leaving $100,000 in the joint account as bait. I backed up our financial records, documenting every withdrawal she'd made over the past year. I knew she'd strike eventually. Our anniversary trip was my idea, a chance to reconnect, or so I thought. I booked a weekend in Key West, a place we'd always loved, hoping the sunsets and ocean air might bring us closer. We arrived Thursday, checked into a quaint hotel on Duval Street, and spent the day walking the beach, her hand in mine. But I felt the distance. She was distracted, checking her phone, laughing at messages I wasn't part of. That night at dinner, she dropped the bomb. "I'm done, Andrew," she said, her voice cold. "Ethan's better for me. I've transferred the money from our account to start a new life with him. Don't try to stop me." I looked at her, the woman I'd loved for 16 years, and felt a strange calm. She showed me the transfer on her phone. $200,000 gone. I knew she'd only gotten the $100,000 I'd left in the joint account, but I didn't let on. "Good luck with that," I said, sipping my wine. She smirked, thinking I was defeated. "You'll regret this, Andrew," she said, standing up. "I'm leaving tonight. Don't follow me." She walked out of the restaurant, her heels clicking on the wooden floor, leaving me with the bill and an empty chair. I paid, went back to the hotel, and packed my bag. I wasn't broken, I was focused. The next morning, I called Mark from the hotel. She made her move, I told him. "What do you have on Ethan Cole?" Mark replied, "He's a piece of work. 3 prior relationships, all with married women. He convinces them to leave their husbands, takes their money, then bails. He's got a history of fraud, too. A gallery in Tampa sued him for selling fake art 2 years ago, but he settled out of court." I nodded. "Keep digging. I need everything." Mark agreed. "I'll have more by tonight." I hung up and drove back to Miami, the ocean blurring past my window. At home, I checked my trust account. $100,000, safe and untouched. Sarah thought she'd taken everything, but I'd been smarter. I called my lawyer, Karen Wells, a sharp divorce attorney I'd met through a client. "Sarah left me last night," I said. "She took $100,000 from our joint account. I've got proof she's been planning this with another man." Karen replied, "We'll freeze the account today and file for divorce. We can also sue for theft of joint assets. I'll need your evidence." I sent her Mark's reports, the financial records, and a screenshot of Sarah's transfer. "Good," she said. "This is solid. We'll make her pay." That evening, Mark sent me more. "Ethan's got a new gallery opening in Miami next week," he said. "He used your money to fund it. Sarah's name is on the lease as a co-signer. I also found emails between them, planning to sell your house while you were on the trip." I clenched my jaw. They'd planned to take everything, my inheritance, my home, my life. But I had evidence, a plan, and the upper hand. Sarah thought. She'd outsmarted me. She was about to learn what happens when you betray a man who balances the books for a living. Saturday morning, I sat at my desk in Miami, staring at the emails Mark had sent. Ethan Cole wasn't just a gallery owner with a charming smile. He was a con artist, a man who'd built a career on preying on vulnerable women. The emails between him and Sarah laid out their plan in stark detail. "We'll use the trip to Key West as a distraction," Sarah wrote. "I'll transfer the money while he's busy, and we'll sell the house before he gets back." Ethan replied, "Perfect. Once the gallery opens, we'll be set. We can disappear after the sale." My jaw tightened. They'd planned to take everything, my inheritance, my home, my life. But I was ready to fight back. I called Karen, my lawyer, to check on the account freeze. "It's done," she said. "The bank froze the $100,000 Sarah transferred. She can't touch it until the investigation's complete. I've also filed for divorce and requested an emergency injunction to stop any sale of the house." I nodded. "Good." "What's next?" Karen replied. "We'll sue for theft of joint assets and emotional distress. With the emails and Mark's reports, we've got a strong case. I've also contacted the Miami PD about Ethan's fraud history. They're looking into him." I smiled. "Perfect. Let's keep the pressure on." By noon, Sarah called. I let it go. To voicemail. "Andrew, what the hell did you do?" she hissed, her voice shaking with anger. "The bank froze my account, and Ethan can't access the money for the gallery. Call me back now, or you'll regret it." I didn't call back. Instead, I drove to the house, checking for signs she'd been there. The locks were unchanged, but I found a real estate listing on her laptop, which she'd left behind in her rush. The house was already on the market, listed at $300,000, with Ethan as the co-seller. I took photos of the screen, forwarded them to Karen, and called a locksmith to secure the property. Sarah wasn't getting a dime. That afternoon, Mark met me at a coffee shop in Coconut Grove. He slid a folder across the table. "Ethan's got a rap sheet longer than I expected," he said. "Fraud, forgery, even a charge for theft in Tampa 5 years. I'll go. He's been dodging warrants by moving from city to city. I also found bank records. He's in debt, over $50,000 to creditors, and the gallery's his last shot to pay it off. Sarah's money was his lifeline." I nodded. "What about her?" Mark replied. "She's been withdrawing cash from your joint account for months. Small amounts, probably to avoid suspicion. She's in deep with him, Andrew." I clenched my fists. "Keep digging. I need everything." Karen called as I left the coffee shop. "The police want to talk to you," she said. "They're building a case against Ethan for fraud and conspiracy. They need your statement about the money in the house." I agreed to meet with them the next day. I also asked Karen to file a restraining order against Sarah, keeping her away from the house and me. "She's desperate," I said. "She might try something." Karen replied, "Done. We'll serve her by tonight." I hung up, feeling the net closing around Sarah and Ethan. They thought they had outsmarted me, but I was playing a longer game. That evening, I went through our financial records again. Sarah had withdrawn $15,000 over the past Year, small amounts disguised as photography expenses. I found receipts for trips to the Bahamas, dinners I never ate, and a diamond necklace I'd never seen her wear. I forwarded everything to Karen for the civil suit. I also checked the security cameras I'd installed around the house last year after a neighborhood break-in. Footage from 2 weeks ago showed Sarah and Ethan in our living room, laughing. "Once we get the inheritance, we'll be set," she said. "He won't even see it coming." Ethan grinned. "You're brilliant, babe." I saved the clip. It was all I needed. Sunday morning, I met with Detective Lopez at the Miami PD. He reviewed Mark's folder and the security footage. "This is damning," he said. "Ethan's already on our radar, but this ties him to the theft of your money. We're raiding his gallery tomorrow. Sarah might face charges too, depending on what we find." I nodded. "What about the house?" Lopez replied. "The injunction stopped the sale. We're investigating the real estate agent for fraud, too. They used fake documents to list it." I thanked him, feeling a weight lift. The law was on my side, and Sarah's plan was unraveling. That afternoon, Sarah showed up at the house, banging on the door. "Andrew, open the door," she yelled. "You can't do this to me?" I stayed silent, watching through the security camera as a process server approached with the restraining order. She took the papers, her face twisting with rage, and left. I called. "Karen?" "She's served," I said. "What's next?" Karen replied, "The police raid is tomorrow. If they find what we think they will, Ethan's done. We'll push for a settlement with Sarah after that." I nodded. "Good. I want this over." Monday morning, I watched the news from my office. "Miami police raid local gallery in fraud investigation." The headline read, "Ethan Cole was in handcuffs. His gallery sealed off with yellow tape." Mark called with an update. "They found forged contracts and fake art in the gallery," he said. "Sarah's name is on some of the documents. She might be charged as an accessory." I nodded. "Let her face the consequences." I checked my trust account again. $100,000 still safe. I'd protected what mattered, and now I was taking back the rest. That evening, I met with a real estate agent to list the house myself. I didn't want to live there anymore, not with the memories of Sarah's betrayal. I also started looking for a small space in Miami to open a photography studio, something I'd always dreamed of doing with Sarah. But now, it would be mine alone. I'd use my trust money to fund it, turning my father's legacy into something new, something untainted by her. Sarah thought she'd taken everything from me. She was about to learn how wrong she was, and I'd be there to watch her world collapse, piece by piece. Tuesday morning, I watched the fallout unfold on the local news from my office in Miami. Ethan Cole's gallery raid had made headlines, his face plastered across the screen as he was led away in handcuffs. "Gallery owner arrested in fraud scheme," the ticker read. Detective Lopez called me shortly after. "We've got him on multiple charges," he said. "Fraud, forgery, conspiracy to commit theft. He's looking at 10 years minimum. We also found documents tying Sarah to the scheme. She's being charged as an accessory." I nodded. "What about the money?" Lopez replied, "The $100,000 is being returned to your account. We seized assets they bought with it, too. A car, some art supplies, all in evidence now." I thanked him, feeling a weight lift. Justice was being served. That afternoon, Karen called with an update on the civil suit. "Sarah's lawyer reached out," she said. "She's offering a settlement. She'll return the car and art supplies, pay back $10,000, and waive any claim to the house or your assets. In exchange, you drop the civil suit and don't press charges for the theft." I thought about it. "I want a written confession," I said. "She needs to admit what she did," Karen agreed. "I'll make it a condition. We'll have it by tomorrow." I hung up, satisfied. The money was back, the house was safe, and Sarah was facing the consequences of her betrayal. Wednesday morning, Sarah's confession arrived. A notarized letter admitting she'd stolen the $100,000 and planned to sell the house with Ethan. I forwarded it to Karen, who filed it with the court. The settlement was finalized by noon. Sarah was left with nothing but the charges hanging over her head. I heard through Mark that she'd moved into a cheap apartment in Hialeah, her photography career in tatters after clients dropped her over. The scandal. Ethan's gallery was shut down, his assets seized to pay his debts, and he was awaiting trial in county jail. I didn't feel sorry for either of them. They'd tried to ruin me, but I'd come out stronger. I sold the house a month. Later, too many memories, too much betrayal in those walls. The sale netted $350,000, more than Sarah and Ethan had hoped to get. I used part of the money to buy a small loft in Coconut Grove, a bright space with big windows, and a view of the bay. The rest, along with my trust fund, went into my dream, a photography studio. I leased a storefront in Wynwood, an artsy neighborhood filled with galleries and murals. I named it Blake's Lens, a tribute to my father's legacy and my new beginning. I bought top-of-the-line equipment, set up a darkroom, and started offering classes to local kids, teaching them the art Sarah had once loved but abandoned. Opening day at Blake's Lens was a quiet affair, just me, Karen, and a few friends from my CPA days. I hung my first photo on the wall, a black and white shot of the Key West sunset from that fateful trip. It wasn't about Sarah. It was about me, reclaiming a moment she'd tried to destroy. Over the next few months, the studio took off, hosted exhibitions for local artists, taught workshops, and even started shooting again, something I hadn't done since college. My photos, mostly landscapes and street scenes, sold well, and I found a peace in the work I hadn't known I needed. Sarah's trial came 6 months later. She took a plea deal, 1 year of probation and a fine plus restitution for the $10,000 she'd agreed to pay. She tried to reach out once, sending a letter begging for forgiveness. I didn't respond. I heard she'd moved back to Orlando, working as a receptionist, her dreams of a glamorous life with Ethan shattered. Ethan got 12 years, his scams, finally catching up to him. I didn't attend their trials. I was too busy building my new life, one frame at a time. One evening, I hosted a gallery night at Blake's Lens, the space packed with artists, students, and locals. A young girl, maybe 15, approached me with a photo she'd taken in my class, a candid shot of her brother laughing in the park. "It's amazing," I told her, pinning it to the wall. "You've got a real eye." She beamed, and I felt a warmth I hadn't in years. This was what mattered: creating, teaching, giving back. Sarah had tried to take my future, but she'd only pushed me to find a better one. I thought about her sometimes, but not with anger. She'd betrayed me, stolen from me, tried to erase me. But I'd fought back, not with rage, but with resilience. Ethan was behind bars, his schemes exposed. Sarah was starting over with nothing, her choices her own undoing. I didn't need to destroy them. I'd built something better, something they couldn't touch. My phone buzzed with a new booking for a photography class, and I smiled, setting it aside to mingle with my guests. One night I stood on the rooftop of my loft, the Miami skyline glittering below. The air was warm, the breeze carrying the scent of the ocean, and I felt a peace I hadn't known in years. I'd kept a photo of Sarah and me from our early days, a snapshot from a beach trip in the Keys. I pulled it out, looking at her smile, the one I'd fallen in love with. I didn't hate her. I pitied her. She'd thrown away everything for a lie, while I'd turned her betrayal into a new beginning. I tore the photo in half, letting the pieces fall into the night. Some lessons come at a cost, but they're worth every penny. Sarah thought she'd taken my inheritance, my home, my life. But I'd taken it all back, and more. I'd found my passion, my purpose, a legacy that was mine alone. Blake's Lens wasn't just a studio. It was a testament to what I'd overcome, a reminder that the best revenge isn't destruction. It's creation, rising above, building something they can't destroy. As the city lights shimmered, I knew I'd come out on the right side of the balance sheet, my father's legacy intact, my future brighter than ever.